Okay, and we are live. I'm just going to go live on YouTube as well.
Live.
Oh no, it wants me to sign in. So today is October 16th, and we have special guest Michael Tidwell. Thank you very much, Michael, for coming on today. And yeah, we just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about Tether and what's going on with that. Some of the drama that's been happening with Noriel. Oh, and hold on, I just went on to YouTube and I gotta mute it. All right. Yeah, those two are the main topics, and then anything else, I guess, that comes up. Oh, a little bit also about Bitcoin maximalism. We looked at that article and kind of we'll parse through that a little bit later as well. So,
Definitely.
yeah, maybe you could introduce yourself and give a little bit of your background, how you got into Bitcoin.
So sure. So first off, thanks for having me on your podcast, Sasha. And in terms of Bitcoin, I think it was really like somewhere like early mid 2013. Some of my coworkers at NCR. Are you familiar with NCR's they moved down to here to Atlanta area. They were mining. They bought a miner, an ASIC. Like some of the first ASICs were becoming, like, I guess, commoditized back then for people to buy, and they bought that, and that was really interesting. So I really started digging into Bitcoin since 2013, really, and couldn't believe how much these miners cost that only mined Bitcoin. That was kind of surprising. So other than that, I kind of blew it off. I didn't really pay attention to it, and honestly, it was really, I always felt good that I never got into Bitcoin, because the only news I ever heard about from like Wire or NPR or something was like, hey, the price dropped like 99. It dropped like 110%. You're like, wait, what? So I feel like that's the only news I heard about before, really I started digging in 2013. Then kind of, learn more and more. Unfortunately, I was really skeptical at first, so I didn't like buy in early 2013 or anything. So missed out kind of like on the low price Bitcoins, but that's about it in terms of how I got into Bitcoin. And then, like, a quick introduction is I now work at Tyrion, so as an infrastructure engineer, and that's a lot of fun. They're based out of San Francisco. I'm remote here in Atlanta, but I fly out there every so often and love working with Tyrion and all the guys over there.
And you guys were featured on Queen of the South recently.
Yeah. So did you think it was called, because like when you listen to it, it sounds like Tyrion, but they
Mm-hmm.
said like the Tyria or something, but it sounded just like Tyrion. It was weird.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah.
Mhm. I ran into a guy from your company. I actually forget his name, but I met him at the Crypto Springs conference a couple weeks ago, and he said he worked for Tyrion, and I asked if he knew you, and he did, and we had a good chuckle over the Queen of the South feature.
Was was it Pierre
I
or
wish I could
Wayne?
remember I think it might have been Wayne,
Okay,
but
CEO, Crypto
well,
Springs. Yeah, he
yeah.
to that conference, so that makes sense.
We
Yeah,
only talked.
that's
We had a
that's
brief exchange, but
that's the CEO. So yeah,
okay. Oh, nice.
Wayne's a good guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he
So
seemed
you
to like
went
you
to
quite well.
Wayne's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so
So how
so
long have you been
Sasha.
working there? Oh, whoa,
So I've been working there over a year now. So I
nice.
had my 1 year anniversary, and Tyrion for life. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's been great. So looking forward to the next year,
Mhm.
and new roles and new opportunities within Tyrion. So yeah. But I was going to ask, we haven't actually talked in a while. What are you? I don't know. So I don't know the format necessarily of the podcast, if it's like pretty strict or if it's just more chit chat style. But
Oh yeah, it's
uh,
an open source or open
okay.
form.
So what have you like? Where do you work now, and like what do you like? What are you doing in the space now besides the
Well,
podcast?
yeah, the podcast, unfortunately, I don't think anyone could, well, I couldn't make a living off the podcast or even a dollar. So I have to have a real job as well. So I work, I'm a partner in DLT Law Group in Tampa. So we just focus completely on all things Bitcoin, blockchain law, and it's been a lot of companies trying to raise money, so exploring all the different ways to do that in compliance with the SEC, as well as a lot of money transmission stuff is coming up lately. So doing the whole state by state analysis, and I'm applying for a bit license for someone right now, and yeah, and a lot of contracts, like just drafting whatever advisor agreements, or if they're whatever people are doing on a contract side. So it's fun though, because
So
every
is Bit
project's different. Hmm?
so is Bit license like that's like the de facto thing only for New York companies, or pretty
Yeah,
much no? Is anyone else using that template for other states, or is
I
it pretty much
hope not.
a New York
I heard California was looking into it, and I think Florida actually is looking at getting some new um, regulation going around the money transmission side. But so far, New York's the only one that has it, and it's really a, a huge process to apply for. So, and I think they've only ever granted 3 or 4 of them. They just
thing?
basically make you apply, and then they allow you to operate while you're in the application phase. And then I think they keep you in the application phase for a long time.
Mm.
But
Okay.
yeah. And
Well,
what
that sounds like you have your hands full over there. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. This month I got to go to that Crypto Springs conference, and then do you know Tatiana Moroz? She's like
Sure.
a
Yeah.
singer. Yeah. She invited me to come on this Contra cruise with her. So I think it's like a libertarian focused cruise, but we leave next Sunday, and it's a week, and we'll go through Mexico. So I think
All
that
these,
that's gonna be
all
kind of
these
fun.
crypto cruises. All these
Mhm.
crypto cruises. Oh my gosh, I've never even been on a cruise. I need it.
Me
I feel
neither.
like the first cruise I want to be on is probably going to be like some kind of maybe blockchain related one. Who knows?
Yeah, probably. It seems like the new format for conferences, but yeah, I've never been
Yeah.
on one before either, and 7 days seems like kind of a long time on it, but hopefully they have good internet. Yeah. And what about
Definitely.
you? Any side gigs? Hint, hint, little segue.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, in terms of stuff outside of Tyrion side gigs, it's really just trying to foster and run the Atlanta community
Hmm.
uh, with meetups and doing a conference in February. Did a conference this year, and um, just try to run the best, biggest meetup with blockchain and Bitcoin tech. So
How
uh,
how big is it?
I think right now we have about 3,300 members or so.
Oh wow, that's huge.
Um, some of our turnouts, like our biggest turnout, was about 400 or 500 people.
When was
Or
that? Like last December?
our yeah, like the RSVP count was like almost 600, like 700. But like I think only like half, like 3 to 400 of those people actually showed, maybe. So we don't my excuse is we like to keep your privacy, high, but really we just are too lazy to know who's coming to these events. So
Yeah, well, when it gets to be that many people, it's hard to keep track of them. What are you going to do? Put a sign up sheet like, oh, we need to KYC
yeah,
you to come to our meetup.
exactly, exactly. Like you don't know who's just walking in off the street, who found the event through, the meetup.com or whatever, or some other kind of tertiary posting. And then
Mhm.
what you mentioned about a little segue, yeah, a little bit of an alter ego thing. I used to rap a little bit, not much, but a little bit when I was in high school and stuff with my friends, a little bit of middle school, rapping. So Dan Anderson. He's running the Bitcoins community, and there's election 2 was coming up, so I wanted to run for the board as for fun, because the requirements are pretty small, and not much, there's not much effort you have to put in. So like my promotional material was the rap song, and funny enough, I ended up getting third. I didn't even make the board. The top 2 members
I thought
get the
3
board
got
seat.
on. I thought you got on it. But
That's the funny part. Like I don't know, a couple hours coming up with the lyrics, maybe a couple hours recording at the minimum, and another couple hours trying to put the beat and the song. Anyways, I spent over probably 6 hours, 7 hours. I don't even know. Like, it was a better part of the day, right? Of like a week or something, and had a lot of fun doing it, right? But I thought I'd at least get second, but I felt like I was very underappreciated. But I feel like I'm my own biggest fan, which is funny because I really like the way like I put together some of the context of the game into the song. Whether or not like that is whatever, but I enjoyed it. So.
Well, that's the main thing. I thought it was really good too. But
yeah, for people listening, if you want to go to, I don't even know how you can find it, like soundcloud.com/Mike21/Bitcorns.
okay, I'll put a link here too. And if they want to join the Bitcoin game, they could come in and find it in our chat too.
All right.
We'll give a little plug. And and also, Mike, you recently interviewed Craig Wright. What was that like, and how did that come about? I watched the interview, but it was
weird. I don't know. I almost want to like forget I ever did it. It was just odd. It was
He's an odd cat.
Well, I'm also learning like how to interview people. I'm not necessarily good at interviewing people. I admit it. And so here's the funny part, like so Craig's I'm like, hey Craig, let's do an interview. Like I kind of said it as a joke, and then he's like, okay. And then I'm like, okay, he said okay, all right, I don't know when. And then he's like, hey, I'll do it now. And I'm like, okay. And I had a little bit of time to prepare, like not much, but a little bit. And I just was like, I'll just come up with a quick list of things to talk about. And during the interview, I'm like reading this list, and I'm not even like listening to him answer questions. And also, I was almost blacking out because like I didn't eat dinner or breakfast, kind of stuff. I felt like I was getting like almost like I don't know what you'd call it, like low blood pressure or something. Like I was like, I don't know if it was
sugar.
the nerves. Yeah, low blood sugar. It was like the nerves of interviewing someone that I didn't really know, and then also maybe being a little bit nervous, having low blood sugar or something. I was actually kind of like very, very out of it. I don't know. I wasn't happy with my performance. So, but anyways, it was kind of weird. It was kind of weird. Like it's one of those interviews where it's like, I wish I could do it again, kind of deal. You know what I mean? Like I totally wish I could have made it flow better. Also, I kind of said something at the end, which was kind of deemed disrespectful, which I was like, I didn't think much about, but then someone pointed out in the comments. By the way, the comments of that video are much better than the actual video. I don't know if you read through the comments, YouTube comments.
I think I was biking when I was listening to it.
They're hilarious. And then the weirdest, I think the worst, yeah, like the whole Craig Wright thing wasn't even like the interesting part of that video. It was like the comments and the people who got mad at me for doing it and then getting factual stuff wrong or whatever. Like, are you familiar with like Bitcoin Bell?
Yeah. On Twitter. Spooky
I think it's
Bella.
like Michelle Seven. Yeah,
Oh
I think her
no,
Twitter.
Bitcoin Bell.
Yeah,
I know her. She used to
yeah.
be Disruptive was her Twitter handle. From back a
And then
long time ago. Yeah, I know her.
I think her Twitter got banned or something. She had to make a new username or
Yeah.
something like that. But
Yeah, she's quite outspoken.
she got like she came out guns a blazing, like she came out swinging. Like I mentioned her during the video and got something wrong apparently. And instead of instead of her saying like, "Hey, by the way, Michael, you got this wrong," it was more like I don't know. You can see the comments. It was funny. I
Okay,
don't
I'm
know,
gonna
but
look
she
through
was.
them now.
I'm not. I'm see. I'm like. I'm never sure like how serious she is, like or how like butthurt she would actually get. Like I think she's like actually she has pretty thick skin, but she's just very outspoken, like what you said.
Hmm.
So she tore me a new one in the comments, and that was entertaining.
Could you see the
So yeah,
comments as you were having the chat?
no, this was after.
Thank
This
goodness.
was
That's
after. No,
yeah.
the live comments were. I don't know if you can actually view the live comments. I'm not sure. I'm not sure
Sometimes
how
you
YouTube
can.
works like that.
Yeah, like right, I messed up somehow with our video right now. It's like not showing on, it says it's live, but it's not showing on YouTube live, so I'll have to upload it later. But if it were, we could see the comments as they come in. And
Yeah.
sometimes, like I do that law show with Tone Bays, and sometimes the comments are so rude. And like you'll just be sitting there like trying your best, and then you look and you're like, oh my God, like they're saying that.
So,
But you just have to, I just
so
ignore them.
so right now you do a show with Tone Vase.
Yeah, well, it has been on hiatus while he's been traveling, but it's like once a week we were doing this law review. I think we did it maybe 10 times or something. It was Adela, Jason Siebert, David
Oh
Silver,
wow.
Bill Restis, and
Okay.
Manny. There's a couple like that float in and out with it, but it was fun. And I think we're supposed to do one again this week.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Drew Hinkes is in it. Yeah,
Cool.
he's really smart. Yeah. So, uh, so do you think
Wait,
you'll
can
do
I
it
ask you real
again?
quick?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you real quick. So, what do you think about Craig Wright? Just curious.
Um, I think he wears Gucci. Just kidding. There's a song coming out that'll be about him called "I Wear Gucci." Um, but I think he's a patent troll. Like I think he's very disingenuous for calling himself Satoshi. I I don't like him. Like something.
Which he wouldn't do. He wouldn't call himself Satoshi again.
Oh,
I was like,
really? Yeah,
oh,
he.
I was like, oh man, this is just a weird interview. Like,
Hmm. When he said he's going to go full billionaire mode. I mean, you know what? I have no context of what it's like to be a billionaire. So I think money changes people, and I think it's given him a, uh, weird.
I
He's
should have.
not
I should
attached
like.
to reality anymore.
Hey, speaking of which, you know what I wish I asked him. Now that I think about it, you know that like comment he made about I got like more money than your whole country kind of stuff. I wish I
Mhm.
kind of pressed him on the details of that just for fun. I think that would have been fun to like
Yeah.
just press on, just like. So, are you saying like you have more money than their country because you're saying you have like the original, like some of those early coins that Satoshi Nakamoto? Are you saying that's why you have more money? Or are you saying you just have more money not based on that? Like just to see what he's, I don't know. It's like it's weird. It's like even though he's like completely full of shit, just like seeing like someone that navigate those kind of questions and come up with maybe clever answers to like not really answer the question is kind of like funny to to listen to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I don't like personally. I feel like Craig Wright might be one of those people that might actually be fun to hang out with and be like a distant friend that like you see at like parties just because he has funny wild stories that may or may not be true
Hmm.
kind of and like one of my friends was talking about Craig Wright a long time ago and he was saying like he's probably like really fun to hang out with in Vegas. He's like one of those kind of
Yeah,
guys. But
he'll take you around on his plane or his boat or something like that.
yeah, but like maybe not to start a business with. Maybe not as a business partner.
Well, I read that lawsuit that he's involved with. I haven't read it recently, but it was really some of the accusations were. I don't want to comment on it because I'll probably butcher it because it's been about 2 or 3 months since I read it. But I just remember it being a little bit crazy. Like it, yeah, he's a character. But I think people like that are what keep us all interested in Bitcoin in a sense because. If everyone was normal, it wouldn't be as entertaining.
It's almost like you need like a side freak show.
Yeah.
It's like some people they have sports, some people have crypto side freak shows. And maybe like one day Craig Wright will get title of crypto jester. And we'll like kind of like going off what John stuff says, maybe we'll nominate a new Satoshi.
Every year.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways.
And what's going on now with him have him and Ver kind of like, were they dating and they broke up or something like that happened?
That's a funny way to put it. Yeah, so I don't know. I have no idea.
I guess it would have been a really appropriate question.
there's just so much drama going on with Bitcoin Cash type stuff because I think, man, it's almost like how the Bitcoin community seems like divided. It seems like the Bitcoin Cash community also seems a little bit fractured as well, or fractured. But it's of my opinion that a lot of people in the Bitcoin Cash community see Craig as a bad apple and aren't upset with him going off and maybe doing his own thing given. So but he definitely has a very odd like cult like following where people like defend him, and it's kind of in my opinion it's kind of weird to put your reputation out on the line for Craig, but I mean it is what it is. I mean, whatever.
Do you think he pays the people to defend him? I guess we,
I don't know.
how can that's
Yeah,
not a fair question. We don't know.
I mean, I would say so. So I mean, regardless of what you think of Craig, just think about how much time Craig Wright has scammed us.
Yeah.
This podcast. But regardless of what you think about him, like 90% of the stuff he says is probably right and true and makes sense. It's just that weird 10% thing that like really seems bizarre and is and then his overall mannerisms with that 10% stuff and being so it's like it's kind of like the the OneCoin. You remember OneCoin?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
So OneCoin came to Atlanta and they like toured because I also remember the Bitcoin Uncensored people talking about how it went to Miami, but they came to Atlanta and I would say like 90% of everything they said was like really good information, but 10% of it was like and by OneCoin. It was that last bit that was a little bit off. I think a lot of people, you're asking like, does he pay people to do stuff? Well, I would say probably not. It's probably that, he says a lot of good stuff and people go in for that. And then they also listen to the extra 10% of the stuff that is a little bit questionable or very questionable. Anyways.
Yeah.
So enough about Craig Wright, right?
Now on to Tether, I guess, or maybe we should talk about Noriel next because it's kind of like another funny person.
So I might have to sit back and just listen. Maybe I can ask you questions. I don't know because that is like new. That's like a new kind of development. Maybe just give me an outline of what's been going on this last week or so.
Okay, yeah, with the Noriel thing. So the U.S. Senate Committee of Banking had Peter von Valkenburg and Noriel both testify. I think it was last Thursday. Yeah, it was last Thursday, and von Valkenburg is a beautiful speaker, and he wrote this nice. It was a 67-page, well-researched document. He talked a lot about he was just like he was realistic. He was talking about public blockchains and contrasting them to private blockchains, and kind of talking about some of the underlying technology, the consensus mechanisms in Bitcoin. And then Noriel wrote his so they each write a testimony that all the Senate people can read before their oral presentation. And Noriel titled his "Crypto is the Mother of All Scams and Now Busted Bubbles, while blockchain is the most overhyped technology ever, no better than a spreadsheet or database." And I haven't read his thing. But I
See,
listened to it.
but see, he might be right 90% of the time. It's that last 10%, where maybe
Yeah,
that part he doesn't get. But
he
I
wasn't
think
right even 10% of like when he was orally debating
okay,
Peter. It was bad. Like maybe you're right. Like he was basically confusing Hyperledger and Bitcoin's blockchain and calling them the same thing, or he just he didn't understand the technology. He didn't do his research, and he just came out like guns a blazing against Bitcoin. And he was saying that anything like all he defined fintech as something different than Bitcoin, and saying that all like financial technology around the world has improved. So everyone can use, like, here in America, we have Venmo, we have the Cash App, we have Zeal transfers through banks. Like in Canada, they have email transfers. So there's no need to have this alternative currency, working, because we can just all transfer money through the bank. And like the whole, unbanked argument just was missed to him, or the fact, and von Valkenburg did a phenomenal job pointing out, like, well, when you have a Bitcoin wallet, you don't have to have any legal contract. You don't have to set up any kind of account with an organization. You can just send money. And he kept saying that we were like, email started in 1972, and it wasn't until more like 1996 that people were using it because the user interface had improved so much. So he kept comparing Bitcoin to like the early 70s, which is funny because I always heard Andreas compare it to being like, we're in 1992 of the internet. And then, now Valkenburg saying we're in 1972 of the internet. So, but
those analogies are rampant, comparing Bitcoin and blockchain tech to early days of the internet. I think every like what is Bitcoin, what is blockchain speech has that analogy in it. So
yeah.
yeah.
So it was full of
Uh,
that. Oh, keep going.
I'm like really surprised though if he got like some stuff like just kind of grossly wrong. Like this, you said this is like in front of like a Senate hearing, or what was this?
Yeah, it was in front of the Senate. So he said that we could only ever do 5 transactions per second, and that Visa could do 20,000 or whatever number Visa can do.
It's just really strange that if this was so important, he wouldn't consult with a technical expert in a very confident like one-on-one kind of session
Hmm.
before doing all of this. He was, like you said, he seemed very confident with his. I don't know,
Yeah,
like
that Bitcoin, that it's only for
maybe
criminals, and like that whole argument too.
well, maybe he did consult with people, but it was like a very like biased person or something.
Hmm.
I just think it's very strange someone coming in so like unprepared to the Senate like that. But maybe that's
Well,
like more common, than maybe that's common. I don't know, but
I don't know either. Until Bitcoin, I never watched anything at the
yeah, I mean,
Senate.
it's like we only pay attention to a lot of things because Bitcoin, and it's like we don't know like any other context to compare it to because we're young, right? And
Hmm.
we, it's like this is all we know. So it's like, oh, this is normal, right? This is
Hmm.
I don't know.
But
Yeah,
it was
I just find it weird that
at
that
one
he would
point, I
come in
think
so unprepared.
He
Like the
said that our fees were like 55. Now I might be exaggerating too, because I don't have the transcript in front of me. I listened to it like a couple days ago, but he said the fees were something like $50 a transaction for Bitcoin. He said he just basically everything that was logical that Mr. von Valkenburg was saying, he came out and, said the opposite. But then someone asked him about the economy, and I guess that's like he is a doctor of, a PhD of economics, and apparently he predicted the financial crisis in 2008. So that's how he got a lot of his notoriety.
I
And
remember reading on Twitter. Yeah, like
mhm.
he's trying to stay relevant or something. That's how he got famous originally or something. Yeah.
Yeah, someone said on Twitter maybe he's one of these perma bears that like always is predicting that the economy is going to crash, and then at some point you get it right because eventually it does crash. But he thought, which I thought was funny, because he called the interest rates will be like 3% this year, 0 next year. I forget if it was interest rates or the GDP, but basically he said it's going to go negative in 2020, which no one brought up, and it would just be purely speculative, but that's the year that of, our happening. So 2020 is thought to be a year that's going to be really bullish for Bitcoin. And then he was saying it's going to be bearish for the stock market, but
There you
um,
go. You heard it here first.
yeah.
Bitcoin to the moon in 2020.
hmm We'll see. But
So you know how not to defend this guy too much, right? But in his defense, there is so much misinformation in this space, right? So I run some workshops, uh, some on the weekends, you know, and I also sometimes work out of the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy, and you'll just see the most bizarre people come through. Yeah, did you know about the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy?
no, no.
Yeah, it's like there's an office. We have an office space at a WeWork where people can come by. There's also an ATM in there that charges like something like 5% fees. It's like really low. And anyways, and I think like yesterday we just had a bunch of like school children, like from like some local school, come by and like tour the embassy and like see it like a miner and how this stuff works. And anyways, uh, you might know Jeffrey Tucker and
Oh
his son
yeah.
and myself are running that thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Does he live in Atlanta too?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that. Nice.
yeah, it's a great city. But I was going to say you have like the most strange like conversations and ideas come through those doors, and like they'll tell you like how this stuff works, and it's just like way wrong. And
hmm
these people have like researched this stuff for days and days and days, but the spread of misinformation is wild, because it's like you go to Google, you type in Bitcoin, and you see a CNN article, and that's where you start. Maybe, I don't know, but
Yeah, it's like this, the
like
Bitcoin
it's like how do you
CEO
know?
committed fraud.
Yeah, but it's like how do you know where to start if you're completely green? Do you go
hmm
to bitcoin.com? Do you Google Bitcoin? Do you go to Wikipedia? You like YouTube, you just type in Bitcoin, you find someone you like, you find Trayvon James, and before you know it, you're like trying to figure out what Steam is, because he's what I'm saying? Like
hmm
it's very hard for outsiders to know this stuff. So let me tell you a story real quick about a guy that walked into the Bitcoin embassy. So I thought this was like just fascinating, not in like a good way, but just like fascinating, just because like wow, I can't, the idea that you deduce this is incredible, because it just means that we need better education. So this guy was really 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 big on Bitcoin Cash, which I have no qualms about, because I believe let the markets decide what they want to use. I have no issue with that. But his reason for using Bitcoin Cash was very very strange to me, which was he opened up a wallet on BitPay,
hmm
and um, and he said and he was trying to show me, even on testnet my fees are $15 to send Bitcoin. And I said, well, testnet and mainnet have nothing to do with each other, first off. And the idea that you're using a wallet that might charge more for fees than you need is, it's kind of arbitrary. You can't say that that's Bitcoin's fault. That's the wallet.
Mm-hmm.
And plus that's testnet. So the fees have no US dollar equivalent. So you're not spending any money. These are valueless tokens. And that was his reason for using Bitcoin Cash and why Bitcoin sucks, was because on testnet, you can see even the fees are high on, because BitPay will do a US dollar equivalent of testnet coins, like how much they're actually worth if they're like mainnet coins.
Mm-hmm.
So that was his reason for liking Bitcoin Cash over Bitcoin, which, first off, BitPay has the best app, hands down, for testnet, at least from my experience. So I really like their app for testnet purposes, for demos and tutorials and stuff. But this is like what you have to deal with. And this guy, owns a business that accepts cryptocurrency and stuff, and someone that an outsider might think is an expert, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, to me, I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is why, you hate Bitcoin, and why you're coming at he was looking to grind an axe. It was kind of interesting. He was saying, well, mainnet's really expensive. And I opened up the mempool, and on like, that one website, I can't remember. And I was like, well, the mempool right now is currently empty. So it's pretty much free to send a Bitcoin transaction right now. It's like less than a penny, or it's like a penny or something. And he's like, well, yeah, but it's not like that often. And I zoomed out, like, really only in like January, December, that was like really high. Right now, since then, it's been like really low. And this guy was just like, wait, what? What are you talking about? No, that's not. No, that's not right. He was adamant about how wrong I was.
And wasn't it only high
very, very
because the Bitcoin Cash people were spamming it?
For me, I'm kind of like under the the opinion that there is no spam because you just pay for it.
Okay.
But as far as why there's like a bunch of transactions, I don't know. I mean, we also did see in 2013 when the price jumped, a lot of transaction volume as well. Whether or not that we would see a bunch of transaction volume when it went to around 20,000, plus a lot of people that are just trying to like maliciously pump up the fees,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And I've heard a lot of people say, like, kind of like what you're saying, that a lot of people were spamming transactions, moving coins from a couple like addresses and stuff, like, and it was pretty easy to determine that. So yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But it's funny,
I mean,
he's using that as the reason to promote Bitcoin Cash.
But like, to me, that's like besides the point, because if you pay money, you're just going to eventually run out of Bitcoin. So
Mm-hmm.
you can only spam for so long. So
yeah.
Anyways.
Another misconception last year I noticed a lot was Ripple. Like, any new person thought Ripple was just like, the best thing ever. So who knows where they get all their info, but
I've heard some bizarre stories about Ripple, mainly in Miami.
Like what?
like this guy who's like, yeah, I told all my friends to buy Ripple when it was at $4.50, and they all put hundreds of thousands.
It never went to $4.
It went to like $3 or something.
Yeah, so it was never at $4.50.
Really? I thought it, all right, anyways, it was.
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought it only went up to like $3.80 or something. It never quite.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So, but the idea was, he told all of his friends to buy in at the height, and it crashed to like, whatever, 50 cents, or I don't know what it's at. And he's like, yeah, I lost all of my friends' money. And he just said it like in a nonchalant way. Like, he was just like, I told him it's risky. It's just like, yeah, I lost my parents' money. I lost my friends' money. And then he was like, they all gave, and the weird part, that apparently they all gave him the money, and then he went on exchanges and bought the stuff for them because they didn't know how to buy Bitcoin and convert that stuff and all yada yada. So, and then one of my friends was, well, aren't you acting as like an illegal money transmitter or something? He's like, oh yeah, definitely. So and like, apparently this guy was like, like he wasn't that, old. He was like maybe between 25, 30 or something. He's like trying to become like some kind of like financial advisor or something. I don't. It's bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Bizarre.
Speaking of another kind of cult following, I would say Ripple has a lot of zealots, a lot of people willing to die for the
Hmm.
cause,
Yeah.
put their life down for the XRP. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
follow Tiffany Hayden. I think that's her name, and I always get my latest Ripple shill news from her. I always make sure if anything big happens, I always see it through Tiffany. So she keeps me current.
Yeah, well, good for her. I saw her fighting with people on Twitter in the last little while, and then I think I don't think I follow her anymore, or maybe I never did, but I haven't gone and checked. But Ripple's been like pumping lately. It's been like doubling in price and stuff. I don't know what's going on with it,
You
but
make me want to check. You
something's
make
up
me
with
want to
it.
check Ripple. Let's
But
see what's going on with it. It's let's see what it went up to. So the most it went up to, according to CoinMarketCap, is 365. So it
okay,
never hit $4, according to CoinMarketCap, at least at this granularity. And in the past, let's see here, since September 30th, it was 60 cents, and now it's 46 cents.
okay, so it
And
has. But has it been on a surge the last week?
it's been kind of flat
Okay,
this
never
last
mind.
week. Yeah.
Maybe I read on Twitter that it's doubling, but it's not really or something.
And it's actually, yeah. And also, I was looking at it priced in Bitcoin, in US dollars. Well, Bitcoin's been going up a little bit. Yeah, in US dollars, it has a pretty good trend up, this last week. Anyways, we talk about the most random stuff. Is this
Yeah,
podcast is just stuff, right? I'm not
yeah,
like, okay, good.
it's all good.
Cool.
But yeah, I guess like so we were gonna I guess just to finish the Noriel and Van Valkenburg thing, it's funny after their testimony, Noriel went on Twitter and started just or I think probably he said he was attacked by a lot of crypto fans, which his testimony made me want to go. I think I did tweet to him the old man yelling at Bitcoin meme from The Simpsons or like
Old man yells at cloud or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. But
Like,
he didn't block me. I wasn't very aggressive. I just sent him that one tweet. But I guess he got like a lot of crypto Twitter rage. It was like kind of a thing that united our whole community. Like it took everyone that was into Bcash, Ripple, all these people all joined forces for, a couple days against Noriel. So it was fun to see. But then
man,
he really likes
that's
Ethereum. He likes Vitalik, Noriel does. So he said the only
oh,
person he would debate, everyone was trying to get Andreas to debate him or some like everyone was putting like who would be the best person to debate Noriel, and I thought maybe Junseth or Tone would be good, but he only
oh
wanted
god.
to debate Junseth would be funny on it, but he only wanted to debate at Vitalik. And funny enough, Vitalik goes, "Oh well, I'll only debate him if we can have Kevin Pham as our neutral arbitrator," who would not be neutral in that at all. So it was
I
a
think I think so. Honestly, I think that was one of the wittiest
me too.
comments from Vitalik I've ever seen. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard not to like Vitalik, especially when he says stuff like that.
After that, I kind of, yeah, he went up a few notches in my books after saying he'd have Kevin
Yeah,
moderate.
yeah, it's like it's just like I've heard stories about Vitalik, like you know, like hey, this and this possibly can't work because of this. Like how he's like, yeah, well, that's true, and you're just like, oh well, I guess there's nothing really to argue about. I mean, I don't think he ever comes off as like an asshole or anything like
Hmm.
to a lot of people. I think he just kind of, it is what it is. And I think you know, I think he's probably actually pretty likable, I would say. And something else that's interesting. I saw Vitalik in person for the first time a couple days ago.
Did he pick his nose?
If you're gonna make like a teaser to this video, it's gotta be like that right there. Where I'm like, I met Vitalik for the first time. Anyways, no, but of course he's doing like weird stuff, right? He's and oh yeah, Vitalik Impress. No, but like it's not just him. It's like this other Ethereum guy this whole time had like the Band-Aid on his finger, and it was very distracting. He kept going like this at it. I was just looking at him doing that. I don't know. I get distracted easily apparently, but and he's doing weird stuff with the microphone, and kind of reminds me of Salad Fingers a little bit. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but
No.
But yeah, he seemed likable. I mean, he seems like a normal guy. But one thing that was interesting that I noticed was I think Vitalik was the only one who had hotel security actually, like, kind of monitoring him. And
Oh, wow.
like, for instance, someone like Charlie Lee did not. Joseph Poon did not, but Vitalik did. And the only reason I bring up Joseph Poon is because they were on a panel together, and Joseph Poon was like talking to people and stuff, and Vitalik was like almost escorted behind this curtain immediately after his
behind a curtain?
Talk.
What do you mean?
Yeah, so like there's
like behind the stage curtain.
You walk down and then walk behind the curtain, and there is at least 30 people after he talks, maybe 20. There's a good group of people waiting to talk to Vitalik after his talk, like lined up on the corner of the stage, like in this area, and the security guards like making sure they can't even get close to him.
He must get that a lot, though. I can't imagine what it's like to every time you go anywhere at a crypto conference. At least everyone would probably be pouncing all over him.
It's just interesting. He's really like he's idolized. He's like a god. He's like a rock star in the crypto space. Very bizarre. And I don't know what to say. Like I think I'm about to meet Andreas for the first time in about 5 days from now.
Oh, where at?
North Carolina.
Oh,
at All Things Open conference. He's going to be giving a talk there, so I'll be able to see him. I'm interested to see if he has like a similar rock star kind of like vibe to him. But then again, I'm not going to a cryptocurrency conference, so I don't know, because the San Francisco event was like a cryptocurrency like week.
Wasn't it especially like an Ethereum focused week too? So,
I'm not 100% sure. I don't think so. There were some events before the event I went to that was kind of like more Ethereum based, but I think what I went to was a little bit more generic.
Okay. I thought it was like a consensus type
No,
thing.
It's it was like a generic thing, and out of everyone I met, he was definitely like the rock star, which it's almost like I wonder like if I want to become like really popular, if I just need to like have a security guard tell people not to talk to me, and then I become like a rock star too. I don't know, but
you never know, or just keep going with the rap game. The crypto rap. I met Andreas at Coins in the Kingdom in 2014, so it would have been he was already like fairly famous then, but he was nice. He was approachable. He came to the bar like with everyone. I went up and talked to him, and he was just down to earth, nice guy. So I think we'll see. It would be interesting to see if he's changed.
I have a feeling. So I have a feeling now that this is going to be my interactions with Andreas. No, I think it's going to be I'm going to see him go up on stage. He's going to walk off stage, maybe talk to one person, whatever, maybe no one, and then go to the airport and catch a flight to, wherever else.
Yeah.
Because he's got such a tight schedule. So I doubt he's going to be hanging out with people at the bar afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I will be surprised if he is, but I'll let you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's funny. So in 2014, he was probably the biggest rock star in the Bitcoin space, right? But it's probably nothing to compare to what he is now.
Yeah. Yeah. And there were less people at the conference. Like, it probably wasn't so overwhelming, to hang out with like 50 people compared to thousands that'll be there now.
Mm-hmm.
He said he was. I subscribed to his Patreon page, and he said that he's doing it where he only charges $30 for people to come see him talk, because he finds the average price of these conferences is so high that he's trying to give people an opportunity to see him for a more reasonable price.
Are you a Patreon supporter of his?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm. There's some people here in Atlanta that I know that are also Patreon supporters of them. So, and we're trying to get them to come down to Atlanta in 2019 to give a talk, at the meetup group.
Oh yeah, well, try it. Reach it, go at it. So the reason I started supporting him on Patreon was because he had blocked a friend of mine from the Jacksonville Bitcoin community, and that person is he's I don't know why Andres had him blocked, but when he signed up for Andreas's Patreon, Andreas unblocked him on Twitter. And so then we're just all talking about it in our little Telegram group. So I decided to sign up for him on Patreon as well. But I really like the content he puts out on there. Like, you get more than what you get on his Twitter. He'll give away free tickets that he has, if he has any leftover conference tickets. And he's very accessible on it. Like, I haven't direct messaged him, but I'm glad to support him.
I need to start doing that. I need to start blocking people on Twitter and then charging people to unblock them.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I haven't blocked anyone on Twitter, but I guess
I don't think I've ever blocked anyone either. But
we probably don't have.
I think Andres is one of those guys that probably blocks a lot of people, but maybe by act, since he blocks a lot of people that give him a hard time. He probably there's some false positives in that group where he blocks someone by accident.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds like what happened.
I think a lot of people are upset with him for his affiliation to Ethereum over the past couple months. It seems like he's migrated over to there, but I listened to him like on the Patreon. He really goes into that in detail, and he says, I'm just exploring this technology. Like, it's so silly for so many people to unfollow him or start hating him because he's exploring other technology besides just Bitcoin. He's not saying he endorses Ethereum. He just is reading, I'm trying to understand it better.
So if he does, I think he did come out with mastering Ethereum already.
I think so.
So it'll be interesting to see how many more coins he does it, like mastering of,
Yeah, yeah. Mastering of Ripple by Andreas. It'd be hard to imagine, but
maybe the move now is to do mastering of Monero or something and like own that name and then sell it to Andreas when he just go for coins like mastering Tezos, like just random mastering EOS, mastering, just go for like a gambit of them, and then if he ever wants to open a book, be like, I'll sell it to you for $10,000.
Great idea.
Yeah. No, but if he does a lot of like mastering series, then it's going to get to the point where it's a little bit, unmaintainable by himself in terms of, publishing. I almost wonder if he would want to like spoke out like, hey, I'll focus on Bitcoin, but I want to kind of dedicate this person for Ethereum like completely, and we'll be like co-authors or something. Because I know he gets a lot of free stuff from GitHub, but honestly, like, I don't know. it'd be cool if that page was a little bit, if that repo was a little bit more maintained, because like the need for like an edition 3 of mastering Bitcoin. I don't know if you've gone through it or anything, but it's like really out of date.
Yeah.
It really needs edition 3. And then another thing is about edition 2. I'm actually going through. There's like a book reading club where we'll read like one chapter and then meet and then talk about the chapter.
Oh, that's fun.
So we met yesterday about chapter 4,
Mm-hmm.
and someone like volunteers to go over like the next chapter and stuff like that. It's really nice. We meet at the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy at night. We start like late at 7 o'clock or so. But and then we also do like a free, like, hey, if you can't make it in person, we also like do like a live like stream of the session where people can ask questions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like a lot of the times in the book, it's like, well, that's how it used to be, but this is how it works now. Like I'm having like to correct a bunch of it. So,
Mm-hmm. When did
anyways,
I read well, I listened to I listen to things on Audible a lot, but I listened to the first one, but I haven't done the second one yet. But when did the second one come out?
I'm not sure. Um, I'm not sure when you published the second edition, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You
Was it?
already need like a third edition. He always talks about like, hey, as soon as I published it, it was out of date,
Yeah.
which is kind of true, but it's really out of date now. So
Mm-hmm. That's what's hard. Everything moves so fast with
in
this
terms of just having like
technology.
current information. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's kind of like what I was bringing up, because like if he's doing Ethereum and Bitcoin, it's like, well, how many more can he do? And then, I mean, they're just like now he just has like a bunch of useless, out of date textbooks, or but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, well, you can ask him when you see him in North Carolina, when you're out
hey,
at the bar with
Andreas,
him.
Andreas, what's the next mastering book you're going to do?
Yeah.
How many can you before it's just too much?
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's touch on the tether thing quickly. Have you been like, do you follow that, or have you been?
Yeah, I actually on October 24th, I'm probably going to give a presentation on it at the meetup group.
Oh, that's my birthday.
Ah, well, happy early birthday.
Thank
For your
you.
birthday, you have to come to Atlanta and then come to the meetup.
I'll be in
We'll bring you.
Mexico,
Ah, okay.
but maybe if the internet's good, if you live stream it, that sounds like a great night.
So yeah, the tether thing was interesting because, well, first off, what do you think about tether, since you're like in the legal space and you probably have researched it a bunch?
I
What's your take?
haven't. I I don't. It's not something I feel that knowledgeable about, but I in the little bit of research that I've been doing on it, it looks to me like it was started. All these coins are started. Now there's what, 4 stable coins. They were made when people thought taxes, they could avoid having to deal with taxes if they used just moving
Mhm.
to something like Tether, so they could go in between different altcoins. But since you have to pay tax on all of it anyway, I don't see a huge advantage to moving it to Tether. Or they could move to, I guess there is no real money market account in like on a Binance exchange or something like that. So it has maybe a purpose for that, but it looks like it's pretty inversely pegged. Like when it went down, Bitcoin went up, and then when Tether goes back up, Bitcoin goes down. And I've read over the last little while some kind of conspiracy things that, well, I don't know if they're conspiracies or not, but that there a lot of why Bitcoin went up so high was because of Tether, or like that it was linked in some weird way that created an artificial price movement up to the 20,000 range. And then also people saying that they really need to show their books and that they don't have the cash on reserve that they say they do, and they've never been audited, but they always say that they're going to get audited, and some, just things like that. And then last week, or sorry, was it like yesterday or the day before, it went down to 85 cents, and it should always be at zero or like at $1. So that was kind of what peaked it. And then what will happen if it really keeps moving? That'll be like interesting to sit back and watch. Hopefully it means Bitcoin will pump, but
have you seen like the meme videos of like the Bogdanov brothers?
Oh, are those the ones with all the plastic surgery? Yeah. Yeah, I've
Those
seen
are
like they say
crazy.
tokenize it or whatever in their
But
meme.
have you seen like the meme videos where it's like pump it?
No.
You woke up, print 10,000 tethers and pump the price, like, or print 10 million tethers, and so it's like it's really fun. Anyways, you can look that up after, but
Hmm.
it's maybe some of the funniest like content I've seen in the space, and in the idea of printing a bunch of tethers and then thus the price of Bitcoin going up, makes sense, right? Potentially, and anyways, the research I've done on it was pretty much Tether is like, hey, we have 100% reserves. We have $1 for every tether. But despite all that, I think the funniest part is there is no way to legally, or we have like no rights, or there is like absolutely nothing we can do to take that tether and get a US dollar in exchange for it,
Hmm.
which I think kind of defeats the the whole trust model, no matter what anyone says. So in other words, even if I have like $2 billion in my bank and I give out 2 billion tokens, and I can say, hey, look, all your tokens have $1 in my bank account, but that doesn't mean that this money belongs to you if you hold that token. You know what I'm trying to say?
Hmm.
Like, like there's no like right or guarantee to actually take that token and then get $1 for it. So I thought that was like
What is
really
that? Is that like in their term? If you did, I've seen people posting their terms of service. I haven't gone through and read them. Is that where that's coming from? Like they say in there something like you can't get it, you can't redeem this, or
yeah, that's what I've read. I've read that
Mhm.
their disclaimer is like just absolutely like the holder of the token has like no rights at all.
Yeah.
And so like let's say they have like $2.5 billion and there's like 2.5 billion tethers. Like I don't like that's not like the number, but that's ballpark.
Hmm.
Well, okay, so what? You have a lot of money in your bank account. Let's say I have $10,000 in my bank account. I can just give $10,000 and show people bank statements. It doesn't mean that you can take that token. Like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything. I think it's funny because if you take away the ability to actually take that tether and get the commodity or the security behind it or whatever, then it's kind of fake, right? It's all built on trust of Bitfinex,
Hmm.
and it's like it's kind of weird. It's very strange. It's very strange, and I understand like the use for it because there's a regulation that makes it hard for people to use U.S. dollars. So there's this thing that we can use, this token that we can use instead that's like a U.S. dollar.
Hmm.
So it makes sense. But when I was researching this other stuff, so it's built on the Omni platform. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. Aren't they like, I'm gonna sound silly here, but are they like it's like another layer of Bitcoin, kind of like Counterparty or Colored Coins? Or are they
Exactly.
linked to Color Coins in some way?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Mastercoin just rebranded to Omni.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so layer two on top of Bitcoin kind of stuff, but using like Bitcoin transactions a lot, and it's kind of weird because I mean that's good for like Bitfinex. So from my research, it's like Bitfinex owners are also like the owners of Tether, and I'm guessing Bitfinex was like the first people to use like TUSD,
Hmm.
and like pretty much like, oh, this is on the Omni platform. We can also use this TUSD if we trust Bitfinex. But really, um, if they just print like tons and tons of tether, it's at least transparent to see how many tethers there are in circulation. Um, Now, if they get $100 million in their bank account and they put in their bank account and then they print 100 million tethers. Okay, like like
Hmm.
all you're doing is proof of. I mean, they can one day they can just take all that money out of their bank account and put it wherever they want. I mean, it doesn't make tether work any differently. It's very that's the part I can't really wrap my head around. Maybe you can explain that part to me. That's the part where I was really hitting a brick wall.
Well, I don't think I'll be able to explain it either because I think it's probably a weird like so if they disclaim, I'd have to read their terms of service to really be able to comment on it, but if they're saying that there's no link to, it would depend on how it was sold to. Like if people are buying it, I mean obviously you can do the security analysis on it and say this one's probably not a security because it's been, you know, its whole goal is to be a stable coin and not go up in value. But if we were to bring the securities laws in, then whatever it says in its investor in, like if it says, oh no, this is not worth what we say it is, or you know, you don't have, even if it has been marketed in a way that people got the expectation that they would have a dollar for every tether somewhere, and if they wanted to redeem it that they could, but then they say something separate and different and misleading in their terms of service, then that could be considered fraud if we were applying the SEC's rules because they made a materially misleading statement to all their investors. um, so whatever's in their terms of service would be overridden by what is probably would be overridden by what is fair and what's makes sense for the investors. Like if you just put some hidden thing in your terms of service and no one really agreed to it, like yes, there is the fact that you clicked your terms of service when you signed up for whatever, but my understanding of how you would buy a token on Binance or something, like you're not going and reading that you're agreeing to Binance's terms of service, then it would be like so far removed that you've actually read and understood and have a meeting of the minds to form a contract with Tether that you're agreeing that you don't own any dollar. If what you believe is that you're owning a dollar worth and that you could redeem it for a dollar and maybe they've marketed it that way, then that's the standard that they should be held to. But since they're not a security and since we're not in any kind of regulated environment, then they can kind of do whatever the heck they want until someone stops them. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, yeah, I need to research it more because there might be some kind of weird caveat of like how to actually redeem your tether somehow. But
Hmm.
uh, anyways,
And if
but
they're out there lying too, like someone said that they're saying all the time that they're going to be able to get audited or that they're having someone come in and audited them, and then they didn't hire like a, you know, KPMG or some, you know, a reputable
well,
person.
I actually read about that because the reason why they use like not one of the big four or whatever is because the big four won't touch this.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the next best thing is what they said or what people are saying. They use the next best thing, and whether or not that's true, I have no way to know. But
Hmm.
uh, apparently, like your PricewaterhouseCooper, your Deloitte, those kind of people won't touch this stuff. So, um, which is kind of a red flag, but not necessarily because a lot of big banks and stuff also don't like cryptocurrency and stuff like that. So maybe it
Hmm.
makes sense. So they use something called like FSS, which is some other group that's supposed to be reputable, based out of DC or something. But I think so. So
Were they
let's say this.
accountants that came in and did it? Like, is that FSS place like accounting firm?
Sasha, I don't know. I
Yeah,
didn't know how to
I don't
evaluate
either.
any stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
I mean, people said like, hey, this, they went over like, hey, this guy used to be an FBI director. This person was this person was yada yada. I was like, whatever.
Hmm.
And pretty much all they did was, this is like their conclusion. They actually did have the money that they said they had. That was the conclusion of the audit. But there was no way to know like the whole time there's this amount of tethers and they have this amount of money. There's no they did not do that kind of audit. They just did like a snapshot June 1st. how many tethers are there, and how much money do you have in your bank account. That's all they did. June
Okay.
1st, so a couple months ago, or 3 or 4 months ago, whatever. But
And then I wonder how they're doing the redemptions, or even if they're required, like there's different ways, if every new tether that comes in, is that what they're paying on a redemption? If someone's like selling it, or how are they matching that up? Because obviously they're not doing it one for one, or the price wouldn't be fluctuating. So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the other thing I tweeted before I got on this show with you was right now Tether's sitting at like 98 cents for an extended amount of time.
hmm
I remember back in the day, the price of Tether was like 90 cents, and they claimed that they were having banking problems. Um, if I don't know what their excuse is this time around, there might also be banking problems again. But if there's free money to be made, and they're literally, they have all this money in their bank account, they could literally just get rid of this liability. They could just buy up a tether for 98 cents and pocket the 2 cents on every tether. They can just do that, however many times until the price goes to a dollar. You'd think.
yeah. Well,
You'd think they would
their
do that.
market cap is 2.5 billion. So,
Yeah, but look at their volume. Their volume is like equal to their cap, which I thought was kind of interesting.
hmm
I don't know if that was interesting to me. Their like market cap and their 24-hour volume was like really close. Um, but like let's say they're maybe having like some like banking issues or something. Maybe that's why like the price of Tether is lower than a dollar. I think it's like I think it's interesting at least to have like a transparent bank, because essentially they're trying to be a bank and they're trying to be a transparent one. But I think it's like people like see what Tether's doing and they don't trust it, just because like fundamentally banks will eventually do fractional reserve kind of idea. Like, well, they believe Tether will eventually do fractional reserve. Like, just, you know, maybe there's like some banks that don't do fractional reserve, but like most banks like do fractional reserve, like down to like almost no reserves at all
yeah.
compared to like how much money they lend out. And I think it's just like a lot of people in the crypto space are like very like skeptical of any of these kind of ideas, and I think that's why they get so much criticism, honestly. Because I think for the most part, they've been able to keep the tether peg at like a dollar. Um, you know, I don't know. I think it's kind of like wait and see. The thing I think I really need to research is if I have a bunch of tether, how do I convert that to US dollars if I don't want to go through Bitcoin? You know.
I don't think you can.
Well, if that's the case, then it's like, okay, then why do they even have reserves at all? It's like
hmm
they're just reserving money just so they can buy tether at a
So they
dollar
could
and
maybe
sell
buy it. I don't know.
it.
Yeah. Because
So you
wouldn't
just have to
they?
trust that they're use that money to make sure they keep buying tether up to a dollar. I guess that's what they're doing.
Yeah, like they must have their own internal monetary policy. So like they have to keep on balancing it. It's like huge balancing act for them every day.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know. I guess so.
hmm
But
It'll
yeah.
be one of these wait and see, and it'll
Oh,
probably
they're
go.
also going to try to go on Ethereum. I don't know if they already have, but they're going to start issuing like an ERC20 token instead of using like Omni. They're going to start using Ethereum.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're going to use both, I think. I don't know why, but whatever.
Yeah, because at least with it, if it is tethered to Bitcoin, then people have to do a Bitcoin transaction to get in and out. Then it'll like make that won't be happening on Bitcoin either. But we'll see. As
See,
a,
I see that's another thing I don't know. Like if if is every because I'm guessing like most tether transactions, don't happen between exchanges. They happen like on the exchange.
Yeah, and you
So
must
you're
be able to go from any of your coin. I've never used Tether, so I'm probably not the best person
yeah.
to talking about it, but
So
you must be able to sell whatever altcoin by Tether, then go from Tether to that altcoin. So yeah, you must, it doesn't require Bitcoin anyway.
yeah, I'm guessing like some things on the OmniNet like protocol like require a Bitcoin transaction, but I'm gonna guess like most transactions don't because it's
Hmm.
like being cleared like off chain like completely. So, but yeah, I don't have much to add. I need to do more research on Tether because honestly, it's made its way up to the top 10. Now we have to figure out how this stuff works.
Yeah.
Once it's in the top 10, you got to figure it out. Just like
Yeah.
BitConnect. BitConnect hit the top 10, then I had to figure out how it worked. Oh, it doesn't work. Okay. Maybe,
That might be what this
maybe
is too.
yeah, maybe it's like once you hit the top 10, then you're exposed. Once you hit the top
Yeah.
10, it's like you won. You win. If your scam makes it to the top 10, you win.
Hmm. But
That's
then you
that's
better
like your
get
goal. No.
get the heck out of Dodge and buy
Yeah.
a wig. But
Yeah, who
just
knows?
kidding. But
Yeah. Tether's going to be like number 1 on the crypto market chart somehow. Who knows?
it's a weird world. Did you get a chance to read that maximalism Medium post I sent you by Fedoros Bahi?
I had not. I did
Okay.
not.
Okay.
I was a bad. I'm a bad.
No, it's okay.
Bad.
I just saw it as I was getting on the plane. I was like, it had a lot of likes and retweets, and I thought it might be interesting. But as I dug into it more, it wasn't a good article anyway. So we don't need to go through it. I don't think. But what can I
Are you
ask?
are you
Like,
a post maximalist or are you a maximalist?
I'm I go back and forth on it. Like the people that I learned the most about from like the Jacksonville Bitcoin community were really critical of a lot of the other coins. Like we had at our meetups, we had a gong for anytime people would talk about, a shit coin or whatever. So it was like, I came to believe that kind of thinking very much myself. And that was before I was really working as a lawyer in the space. And then when I started working as a lawyer here, it's like, well, if I only touched Bitcoin related projects, I wouldn't have a job. So I've had to, like change my mentality to make a career in the crypto space. Like, so I've done a lot of work with these ERC20 tokens and projects. And what I've seen personally from it is that the people that are trying to develop these things are very well intentioned, often, they're my clients, so maybe I'm biased, but I think they're smart. I think their projects might have, merit to them. And so it kind of persuaded me away from just thinking Bitcoin was the one and only possibility. But I still certainly, like with my own investment side, like I'm probably 90% in Bitcoin, and a little bit in a few other ones. But I think over the future, it's impossible that like if you go to a conference and you see all these people, like everyone's trying to get a buck, but that's how the market works. Oh shoot. Um, so eventually like someone's going to get something right so that they can, profit from it. Like I don't think that all these people are putting all their time and energy into nothing, and it'll just completely be absolutely worthless. Like something will come of all these other projects that will improve. And like we're already seeing, lightning come on, or different things are happening. Yeah. And I wonder, would there be such a push to improve those kind of things if we didn't have all these other coins here kind of competing or forcing Bitcoin to keep pushing forward. So yeah, I
I
guess that's
I think
where I
it's
stand.
weird. Yeah, no, I like it, but I think it's weird because like a lot of times, um, you know, with stuff like this that's confusing, technical, and there's a lot of people saying a lot of things. You kind of almost look for, guidance from experts and mentors, and one, either those mentors don't exist, and no one knows what the hell's going on, or two, they do exist, but they don't want to say anything because this is a decentralized space that shouldn't have a leader, and no one wants to take the leadership role because no one wants this to seem like they're trying to push you in a direction. It just should be obvious, right? And I think a lot of really brilliant people take that approach where it's like, well, I shouldn't have to force you to use the better technology and what's going to work. And that might be a little bit like egotistical or a little bit like, pompous or whatever, but I think that's how a lot of people are in the Bitcoin camp. Versus I would be more like, hey, let's reach out to these people and tell them like, hey, what you're doing might not be such, the best idea. Like, maybe you should use something else, maybe like Lightning, or maybe, maybe we should all be working on something like Drive Chain or something. I don't know. So, yeah, it's weird. It's a weird space. But personally now, especially after going to Blockchain Week, I am now a I am actually now born anew. I'm a spank chain maximalist.
Why? Because you want the bear market to be over.
Bear market has a new meaning in spank chain land. So, no, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I still kind of pull for Bitcoin to be kind of like, if there is going to be just one. I do like, maybe I think a lot of people think I've drank the Kool-Aid on the idea of everything being able to be done on Bitcoin with a finite supply of, coins. Makes it a little bit more, in my opinion, a little bit more tangible when you limit the supply of these things and have all these other kind of projects building off the side, like through like a drive chain like idea. So I'm definitely a fan of that and would love to see everyone kind of working off the same network. But that's just me, thinking ideally. I mean, I also felt that way about Lightning Network, so I'm very happy to see that, Lightning is usable at least to some extent now. Because I remember a year and a half ago talking about this stuff, saying like, well, it's coming, and me still not really being sure, and now it's here. So I hope the same thing's true for sidechain ideas that are completely decentralized. So. And hey, if that's working, then you bring in stuff like Mimblewimble, you bring in stuff like smart contracts, Turing complete smart contracts like Ethereum has, bring in a ring signature kind of idea. You bring in all these kind of cool, maybe like a zero knowledge proof stuff. That's another thing about what makes me such a big fan of the sidechain drive chain idea, is because and I don't know if someone planted this in my head or if I thought of it myself. I probably the first, but if you have like a privacy focused chain and it's doing like zero knowledge proofs and stuff like this, there might be some cases where there's a bug or something and there's no way to really know if there's a bug, because in terms of like an inflation bug. So you could have someone with like a ton of coins and they just slowly kind of get rid of them, and then the exchange ends up with like 50 million. These things are like, wait, what happened? There's only supposed to ever be like 21 million Zcash or something, whatever. Well, the cool part about locking up funds in a sidechain for the privacy kind of ideas is, well, they can only take back as much Bitcoin as gets locked up into that sidechain. So they wouldn't be able to inflate the entire network. They would only just be able to mess up that sidechain specifically. They wouldn't be able to kind of mess up the whole thing because Bitcoin's so transparent, on the quantity and everything on main chain. If any kind of inflation bug happened, it would easily be found. So I do like the idea in terms of the privacy aspects of, projects. Not to mention, like, when you do have some of these sidechain ideas, atomic swaps and lightning swaps might become really, really interesting and also increase privacy between people. So definitely still feel like I'm fighting the good fight of it. Everyone on the same network. I feel like, Bitcoin's where it's at, but I have no idea like what will actually happen. So
yeah, that that article was saying basically that all maximalists are like, it's like a cult, or, it was kind of poking fun at the meat eating side of things, or calling everything a scam. But
It's kind of true though.
yeah.
It's like, did you see that one thing that's like something this, and then like the fourth bullet is, and you cannot be nice to scams or something. What was that?
Yeah, that's Giacomo. I don't know what conference it was at, but that was his slide. I kind of liked it though. Like, I understand. I mean, I'm a huge fan of their morning brief. Like, that's where I get a lot of my news. And their idea that you can't be nice to scams, I guess it depends what you define a scam as. But if you think something's a scam, you got to call it out to protect the community, is kind of, I think, what he meant by that.
It's interesting though. It's interesting. Um, I feel like some of the most outspoken people, like, come off like, instead of like friendly, like, hey, look, maybe you're doing this wrong. It's like, oh wow, those people are in a cult. They just call everything a scam. I don't like those people. They're mean. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, how do you bring people to this technology, or how do you convert them to Bitcoin, or how do you like show them the light? If you think you're in the light, how do you show them if you're going to come off so aggressive? I feel like a lot of people come off really aggressive, and I think maybe I'm at fault of that sometimes too, because it's kind of, you see so much shit that you get kind of like, you get very like tired of seeing all this shit funnel through. But then at the same time, in my opinion, you can't really blame these people, because like I said earlier, there's so much misinformation. There's so much, it's so hard to figure this stuff out, because you have all these people that have known about this stuff for 6 months to a year, claiming to be experts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I don't know, it's just like, I think it's like, I don't know, I'm guessing like a lot of stuff was like this, like a lot of like up and coming tech and whatever, but it's probably a bunch of people spewing shit with early days of the internet, right? Go back to that analogy. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's just weird. It's like what you said earlier, these people come to the meetups and you don't know where they get these ideas from, but then same thing, like for like from a smaller scale in our Jacksonville meetup, these people were coming in, they'd be all over certain coins that weren't Bitcoin. And then in the chat, we'd try and, I say we, like, but the core members of the chat would try and kind of straighten them out with it. And usually it would be pointing them to Andreas back then, like before Andreas went all Ethereum, in his talks. It would be just different things, but it became hostile for some of the new people. Like if they came in all excited about something, and then it was like, nope, you're wrong. You got to do it this way if you're going to be in here. Yeah. So it's,
well, yeah, but but then what do you do if they're not willing to listen to you, even if you do come off friendly? You know what I mean?
mhm.
It's like they've already invested money in this, and they've already drank the Kool-Aid for this one project. So they're more worried about convincing you that they're right than listening to you convince them that, you're right or whatever. So
Yeah.
um, this is weird. Like, I know this is like way oversaid, but I'll say it again. Like, when you combine like money and technology so closely together, it's like logic kind of goes out the room sometimes. And you know, I think like, even if like something was like clearly 100% without a doubt better than Bitcoin, a lot of like maximalists wouldn't want to hear it.
Hmm.
And if Bitcoin is a lot like 100% better than some altcoin, they don't want to hear it, because obviously Bitcoin's for old people, and I've heard that, and Bitcoin's old tech, and we're more worried, we're more focused on blockchain 5.0, Bitcoin's 1.0, you know.
Yeah, it makes me upset even when you're saying it. I'm like, no, it's
No,
not.
but it's like,
But I don't know why my reaction is like that. But
so I know, but because like we've been in the space for 5-6 years, right? So I mean, I run a meetup group, right? I'm a founder of the meetup group of Atlanta, right? And obviously I have people help me, but I get to see all these people. I go to a lot of conferences. I work at the Land Bitcoin Embassy, as like a desk. I go in and see these people, and and the other thing is I teach classes, and the first thing that I have to do is kind of like untrain what you think a blockchain is or what Bitcoin is, and then teach you what it is, because a lot of people, come in with misconceptions. So
Like Bitcoin's for
it's
drug
almost like,
dealers, but blockchain is the future.
well, yeah, whatever. It's just like something where it's just like it's like working with kids. It's like eventually like a parent just like doesn't get bothered anymore.
Hmm.
It's just like little Billy's like throwing crap all over the floor, and you just kind of like have Billy by like the ear, and you're just like, all right, just calm down, and you're just like
Hmm.
not even like phased at all.
Yeah.
And you're just like the kid that's yelling in the grocery store. It's just like the parents like, I've tried spanking them. This kid sucks. I'm sorry. It's just like the parent is just like giving up. You're just like, look, I'll figure it out eventually. I think that's where like a lot of people are right now with
With the hype.
with like helping people, because they come off
Yeah.
so strong on their beliefs like out of nowhere, and everyone's so confident with what they know,
Hmm. It was like
and I think,
before last summer, like more than a year ago, it was anytime someone showed any interest, people were like bending over backwards to give them some Bitcoin, show them how to do a transaction, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it became like too many people were demanding your time to do stuff like that, or they weren't listening, like they were doing their own, whatever. And it just, the whole culture, not, I don't know, it just seemed like it changed a bit. Like it became the bro vester feel instead of the, yeah.
I've never heard that. That's awesome.
It was like
Bro.
yeah. But it's still it's something about it keeps us going. Like it's still, my a lot of attention goes to keeping up on it or watching the developments. So we'll see
We have
where
to
it goes
end
in the
on a
future.
positive note. We have to end on a positive note. So, uh, through practice and working with people, the light will be shown eventually, right? So everyone will end up better. I,
Yeah.
I I would say also, you know, I think, there will be like 1 in 10 people that might actually have, or 2 out of 10, whatever, 1 out of 5, that actually do have good questions, good points to be made about other projects. And I think it's upon us you know, not to blow them off immediately, and to actually listen to them and
Hmm.
hear them out, because um, you never know. So I think going back to us, it's good for us not to blow off people too quickly, and to make sure um, we give people enough time to speak, because I know I can be guilty of that sometimes,
Hmm.
especially like, hey, look, I've already heard this 1,000 times. Look,
You're
I'll tell you
wrong
why that's not
because.
going to.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's something I personally need to work on. So
Yeah, I just kind of stopped going to meetups, so I haven't been to one since January. So I need to maybe get myself there a little bit more and start interacting with people again.
there
But
you go.
yeah, maybe I'll have to come check out one of these Atlanta ones someday.
It's the best. We're the
Hmm.
best.
Sounds
That's
good.
not subjective at all, right? So
Yeah. Well, where can people find you?
well, if you Google Michael Tidwell, you'll probably find one Michael Tidwell that's more popular than me. I would like really love the artwork that you came up with, for that to be the first thing people see when Google Michael Tidwell. Like, I don't know how, but like maybe you can like pay someone off at Google to like make
Yeah.
that the first thing that people see. Like, that would just be so awesome. Like, that would be perfect. I'm sure like people know what I'm talking about, because you'll make that like the picture of the episode or
Yeah, yeah. It's so indelible made a mask of the other Mike of you over top the other Michael Tidwell.
something. So
I wasn't sure how you were going to react to that either. Like, he
You
sent it to me. He was really proud of it. And he's like, look at this, check this out. And then I was like, I don't know if he's going to like that his eyes are cut out. Let's see.
it looks really creepy. I think that's why it's also winning. Did you see the Mike in Space mug that he sent me?
No.
Wait, hold on, let me 1 sec. Let me show you real quick.
Okay. I saw someone online, I forget who it was, but they were confusing you and Mike in Space. Mike in Space was kind of catching some heat, and I think it was the Dr. Raw Old Dirty Dojo. Oh, very good, Michael Tidwell. Nice.
I don't know. Was that question, was that backwards or was that forward for you?
First, I saw the one that
Was the text backwards
the
or
text. It worked. I could read it.
Okay.
I think. Do it again. Maybe I was just
No, because it was no. If you could read it, it worked.
Yeah,
It showed backwards for me.
Yeah, it said the Bitcoin Michael Tidwell. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike in Space sent me that mug, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, that's pretty clever.
Yeah. So now I have a picture. Like, dude, if this guy who's like a professor at like Austin University or something, like if he ever like sees this, he's just gonna be like, "What the hell is going on?"
Hopefully he doesn't go Noriel on us and call us a bunch of barking dogs.
Oh, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, I think that about concludes our podcast for tonight. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciated talking with you. And I guess I'll see you online or at a conference. Are you going to go to Miami again this year? That's where we met last year.
To be honest, maybe, but it's going to be hard to justify because it was just completely nothing last year or this year. So going next year is questionable. But I would like to shill myself in February 9th and 10th. I'm running TabConf, and it's dubbed as the Southeast Blockchain Conference of Substance.
Ooh, very nice.
Cheap tickets, great speakers, and no ICO pitches.
Excellent. Well, I will try and be there.
We're looking to have about 800 people. Not too big, but not too small. And we've already had some really good, interesting people RSVP for speakers. And probably a lot of them. So if you know any speakers that want to speak at TabConf, which again, blockchain conference of substance, great speakers, cheap tickets, no ICO pitches, 2-day conference, February 9th and 10th, let me know. So, and then if you want to know anything else, like how to find me, Mike21 spelled out with a 1 on the end. So, Mike21. I'm on Twitter, everywhere. So,
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for letting me shill my conference. Appreciate it.
Oh, no. Thanks for letting us know about it. It'll be a conference of substance. It'll be a good.
Sasha podcast listeners get 10% off some future discount code, right? So
okay. Yeah. Give me an affiliate link and.
Exactly. And I'm also going to try to make it where you can actually pay in cryptocurrency for the tickets. So.
Oh yeah, you have to do that.
Yeah, there's actually not too many conferences that do that. So, anyways.
Yeah, I don't get why conferences don't accept crypto. It's very bizarre to me. Like the last couple of years, it's been hard to pay with it. But
yeah,
you guys are.
Anyways, we'll try to figure it out. So, anyways, all right. Thank you so much.
Nice. All right. Thanks, Mike. Oh, do you want to do your rap for anyone? No, just kidding. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yo. I have it. I do have it memorized, but yeah, you have to make that the outro of this. Oh wait, you don't do post editing. Oh, okay.
I can on the SoundCloud. On the SoundCloud one, I can.
So on SoundCloud you have to make the outro start now. But
Boom. Yeah. All right,
okay.
cool.
All right.
Thanks.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.